Welcome to Rise Up in Business, the law podcast for small business owners. This podcast is designed to share important legal information without the stuffy legal jargon. I'm Tracy Milacrane. Let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Rise Up in Business podcast. I'm really excited to share today's episode with you. This one's been a long time coming. I've wanted to get today's guest on the podcast for quite a while, and we finally were able to coordinate it. It was the right time. I'm joined today by guest Kate Addamo. Kate is somebody who I have known for 3 or 4 years now, and we have become friends. I have attended a retreat that Kate held at the end of last year. It was my very first retreat, actually. I've been adverse to retreats for a very long time, but for several reasons, and we do touch on it a little bit in the podcast, I was drawn to attend hers, and it was hand on heart transformational for me in the context of being a woman in business and my business journey and how I integrated that with my day-to-day life. I've wanted to have Kate on the podcast to talk about her journey, what drives her, how it is that she's landed being such a popular mentor for creatives in business. And she talks holistically about her purpose and what drives her and why she does what she does. But one of the big takeaways from this conversation with Kate is that she is one of the mentors around that is committed to the one-on-one work with clients. Kate doesn't do group coaching. She doesn't do masterminds. She does one-on-one work, notwithstanding all of the commerce and all of the noise on social media about how you can scale and you make more money if you do one-to-many. Kate's shunned all of that, and she's stayed focused on the one-to-one work because, according to Kate, for her, that's where the magic happens, because she's committed to the transformation with women that she has seen time and time again. So she knows that it works. So she knows what can be achieved from working one-on-one, and that's why she does it. And you'll take away from the episode just how passionate and committed Kate is to this work and just the magic that she brings and the nuggets of gold that she shares. And I just know there'll be so many listeners listening along, nodding, yes, that's me. Oh my gosh, I resonate with that. I relate to that. That's me, because that was me too. So enjoy the episode. I'll be back with you at the end. I hope you enjoy it as much as I have loved this conversation with Kate. Hello, Kate. Welcome to the podcast. This has been a long time coming.
It sure has. Thank you so much, Tracy, for having me here. I'm very grateful and very much looking forward to our chat.
This is going to be so great. And I know you and I have talked about this for quite a while, having you on, and we've been talking about all the things we want to share. And honestly, I think we could talk for a week with the messages and the value that I know that you have to share with listeners. For today, though, we're going to talk about, first of all, a bit about you and your journey, because I would just love for my audience to understand a little about you and context and how you ended up here. And then I want to talk about the business journey and what we're seeing at the moment and what we're seeing go wrong so often. But it's not all negative, because I think there's a solution to that. But let's start with you, Kate. Tell us a bit about you and your journey, and how did you get here in living your purpose to support women in business?
Yeah, it's sort of a big one, Tracy, and I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. But you know, back from the beginning, I'm a country girl. I grew up on a dairy farm and thoroughbred horse stud. So I'm a country girl through and through. And I think those values are what has got me where I am today. And it's such an important part of my business. For a long time, I worked in male-dominated industries. So I was very familiar with burnout, adrenal fatigue, being one of the boys, being in my masculine, and just living a life that wasn't working for me at all. And it took many knocks and many hits to my health for me to actually wake up to that. I realized in 2017 that working for other people wasn't for me, and I left a full-time job and didn't know what I was going to do. And even at the time, my husband said to me, "Are you going to get a resume? Like, make a resume." And I just said, "No, I don't need to." I just so deeply trusted, and it was a crazy time, 6 months before our wedding. Could not or should not have done that financially, but I trusted. I went to help someone in their business, and I just went, oh, I actually really enjoy this, and I have a gift here that I want to share. I love the entrepreneur life. I have a lot of ideas. I'm a creative through and through, and it happened very organically from that day. And I remember coming home and saying to my husband, I'm going to start a business. I need to support women. And that was initially in property styling. And Then it ventured into obviously interior designers and stylists and creatives. And now it's sort of across creative and service-based business because it is so much deeper and incredibly holistic. And on the other side of that, part of that business journey has been my health journey, which I'm sure we might touch on more today. But I've had severe adrenal fatigue. I suffer a lot of migraines. My hormones are an absolute mess. I have been on a healing journey physically, mentally, emotionally, all of the things for some time. It's come a long way. There's still a way to go. But it's so incredibly important to me because of my mum's journey, her cancer. We lost her last year to breast cancer, which was estrogen dominant. I lost another beautiful friend very suddenly last year at 41. And I've now got another special woman in my life who's very unwell. So everything that I do is underpinned by health and really supporting women very holistically because it just matters so deeply to me.
Okay, there's so much to unpack from that, but I am absolutely certain that there are listeners nodding along to this thinking, oh my gosh, that's me. Adrenal fatigue, I'm tired, I'm living 97% of my life in masculine energy, it's male dominated, or how do I do all the things? Or, oh my gosh, I know people that are unwell too. And it's everywhere and I hear it and I see it and I've been it. And for listeners, Kate and I connected about 3 or 4 years ago on the good old Instagram. And how about that? And I just love the magic of social media these days when used for good. And it was such an organic connection and followed along and connected. And we've spent time in person. We work together. I look after your clients. You look after mine. I support you. It's just been such a beautiful, holistic, organic journey connecting with you. And I've learned so much from you along that journey in relation to prioritizing myself and my health and, oh my gosh, what happens when we don't? And what does it mean to be nurtured? And we'll talk about that as well. So you've said, Kate, that you focus on supporting women in business in the creative space. So what sort of businesses and how do you support them? So what does that actually mean? Because I know the value you bring. I know some of your clients. I know firsthand the value you bring from me, but people will be wondering the same thing. What does that actually look like?
Yeah. And as I mentioned, it's incredibly holistic for me. As we go on our journey, we really learn how to break things down and articulate them better. And I think for me, it's what's really landing lately is there's 3 core things. I work on supporting the women behind the brand, really building her up, looking at her weekly structure, who's supporting her, how she's connecting to herself, her health, all of those things. Because I find when we build the woman up, she's looking to less of everyone else's business model and what's happening out there and what everyone else's version of success looks like. She's deeply rooted in what her version of success looks like. And we start from that place. And then I really like to dive in and work across the whole brand as well, across the whole business. So business setup, getting them in touch with you, good insurance brokers, get the foundations right, get everything just solid. I'm very big on having a solid platform. And that's, your client journey, your brand, your legals, all across your finances, expense forecast, cash flow, and then really looking at who your client is, how we price things, their journey, everything. It's very holistic. And I like to come at it from every part because without that, I just think we're missing so much. We're missing the goodness. And I see that there's a lot online at the moment, and which we'll probably come back to at some point, is just that push that everything's about the client and making money and scaling and build a course in 30 days and make 30 grand in 5 minutes or yesterday, and all of the just rubbish that I'm sick of seeing that's not realistic, that's giving women false hope and false expectations and making them feel like they're failing. I'm turning that on its head and going, right, who are you? What do you want? What does success look like? And let's build that version of this business and life that serves you, not someone else's dream or maybe not even reality that they're selling on Instagram.
Let's talk about that because there's so much noise on Instagram, so much noise, and everything I'm seeing is all about the hustle culture, and you've got to scale and you've got to grow and you need to work to $1 million. And I talk about it on here, probably not enough, but we don't all have to scale and we don't all have to grow and we don't all aspire to run $1 million businesses. There's no prize. And I love that you do away with the hustle culture because I think that it's really easy to, again, talk about it and go glide, not grind. And who are you and what do you want? But it's not as easy to sit down on your own and say, oh, okay, well, what do I actually want? How do I start? Because how do you start? So when someone comes to you, a business owner comes to you, a woman comes to you and says, right, I need help with this because I need to grow my business. And you realize, no, in fact, we need to slow it right down before we can speed it up. What are some of the things that you're seeing most common that's blocking women from identifying that they matter and the value of prioritizing themselves and stripping it back to work out what's important for them?
Yeah, there's a few things there. I think one is society's conditioning and women just getting out there and hustling like men, like our hormones and bodies are the same as them, which they are definitely not. And the older we get, the more we find that out. That's a big part of it. I think everything that's been sold at them on social media. And I think it's just they don't feel like it matters enough, or it's something they might do when they get to retirement. And retirement's not guaranteed. Like old age is a privilege. We are not guaranteed that, and we're not guaranteed good health, and everything that we're doing right now can impact that. So I just want to do everything I can to make women realize that, and just to see how important that is, and to see how much they matter. And I know I've had a few clients lately that have, the first session I've done with them, they've just been so deeply sad, so disconnected from themselves. They've not had anyone really have this deeper conversation with them. Some people will do with their mothers, sisters, girlfriends. Some don't. But some will only have it from a lens of where their confidence level is or their own insecurities. So I like to just come at it very holistically of what deeply matters and how do we just build that woman up so that she just blocks out the noise and she just feels so much more at peace in herself. And the change I see is quite dramatic after a session or two, in just the, wow, I often get a thank you. You've given me permission. I didn't know I could do that. I'm so used to doing it one way. But it's not until you hold the mirror up, they don't actually even realize that what they're doing is so detrimental to themselves, their health, their family, their relationship. And honestly, I see a lot like just barely hanging on.
I'm glad you said it that way, that the holding the mirror up. So for context, Kate, you just mentioned that you lost your mum last year. I lost my mum last year too. As you know, it's not something that I talk about all that often, but old age, it's not guaranteed. Retirement, it's not guaranteed. So experiencing that is great for perspective, as in it's a kick in the head in terms of perspective. Thanks, universe, I'm seeing it. And we lost Dad 7 years ago. So my parents passed away at the age of 62 and 65. So it's very front and centre that this is lifestyle driven and health driven, and we don't know what we don't know. And I thought, given my journey, and, I've been through adrenal fatigue, I've been through chronic stress, I've been through all of that, and I've shared about my journey, and I thought I had it figured. But I didn't realise how much I didn't have it figured until I went to your retreat last year. And this is something that I'm so happy to share. I remember walking into your retreat, and I remember sitting at the airport waiting for an Uber to get out there going, I've got no clue what I'm in for. Kate's talking about a retreat for 3 days of nurture. I don't even know what it actually means to nurture myself. I feel like this is going to be a bit touchy-feely and let's hold hands and talk about feelings. That's not really me, but I have the greatest respect for Kate. I'm going and I'm going to lean in full faith. And I remember walking in thinking, I don't know if this is going to be for me, but I'm going to lean in anyway. The women you attracted changed my life. The time with you opened my eyes and changed my life. And I've said it and I've shared it so widely because for someone like me who's been on the journey too, and I thought I had it figured, I realized after spending that time with your unique way of seeing into someone and meeting them where they're at and being able to pull from them what they need so they can see. Actually, Tracy, you don't have a bloody clue what it's like to nurture yourself. That's what this looks like. And that's what it looks like to take space for you. And this is what it looks like to slow down. No, Tracy, that's actually not slowing down. This is what slowing down's like. It was so transformative. And speaking to the women that I speak to who are connected to you, many are clients of yours, that transformation continues, Kate, in all of the work that you do. So there's a really unique aspect to this that's not just a, hey, come and work with me because I'm going to help you. It's coming from the soul, I think, for you and the heart, and this really is your purpose. And I know that you've got your own journey to draw from. Can you just elaborate there for context? Because I think it really does make a difference to understand your health journey and what the hell.
Yeah, thank you, firstly, for the beautiful words, Tracy, and I'm so glad you came. And I saw the apprehension on your face, and I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to go one ways, and I'm glad it went the right way, and you took so much from it. And we were all just so much better from having you there. I think I want a lawyer at every retreat to help the women with the challenges. But it just seeing that growth in you was beautiful, and seeing that you have started to slow down and do these things. I love witnessing that, and that's what I'm here to do. And that is part of what I call like the ripple, and teaching you, and then you might teach someone in your family or a friend, and that's what I truly want it to be. But with my journey, oh gosh, honestly, it's been since I was a child. I've always had bad headaches, and kids don't usually get headaches. And I was always tired. There was always something going on. A lot of bloating, a lot of gut issues across my late teens, early 20s that went on for a number of years. And then just at about 35, a few months after I got married, everything changed overnight. Periods got incredibly heavy, more migraines, weight gain, just literally, it was August 2018 to the day. I can tell you, like, it just happened overnight and my body just changed dramatically. And I went on a journey of trying to get to the bottom of that because I'd done so much research and I thought, I'm pretty sure this is estrogen dominance, and got turned away by the first doctor. We don't test that. It's not worth the paper it's written on. Second one said, you're fine. I said, pretty sure I'm not. Third one, naturopath actually got it tested and went, oh, you have all the symptoms of estrogen dominance, but it's coming back low. So that doesn't seem right, but we're going to boost your estrogen anyway. So by the time I found my beautiful new naturopath here in Toowoomba, she had to send it to her mentor and say, what do I do here? This is the highest case of estrogen dominance I've ever seen. It was basically knocking on cancer's door. So if I hadn't listened to my own body and if I had just listened to the GPs who said I was fine and it was normal, I would very likely have or be very close to having breast cancer by now. And that's something I want everyone to look at because so many women don't understand the importance of hormone imbalance and they just think incredible PMS, migraines, heavy periods, really sore boobs, all of the things are just normal, and they are not. And it is a journey to heal them, but it's a really important one because it leads to so many terrible diseases like cancer and all sorts of things. So I've been working quite hard at that, but a lot of it has been naturopaths, a lot of emotional clearing and a lot of emotional healing and letting go of stories and past. And being a daughter of a generational farmer, everything is hard. It's all lack. It's a lack mindset that I grew up in. There's never enough water or money or rain or, you know what I mean? There was never enough time. And so I had to deeply shed my parents' story, which I'm still working at, and it is hard. But a lot of that has caused a lot of my issues because my body, it wasn't supported. It just wasn't supposed to function the way that my parents did and the way that they thought life should go. My mum's no longer with us and my dad also has cancer. So how well did that work out for them? And I don't want any part of that. So I'm doing everything I can to shed that and to heal with everything that's in our home. Completely low tox. Our bedding is linen. Our mattress protectors are pure natural cotton. Like, I'm just trying to be as holistic as I can across every single thing that comes into our home now, just to give us the best chance of health and longevity.
Thank you for sharing that. And I find that so valuable. And for long-time listeners, you will have worked out by now, everyone knows I'm very spiritual, as is Kate, hence part of the beautiful connection, part of the many threads of the beautiful connection. But there's so much there, and it all adds to context around the holistic approach and the treating the woman as the whole person. And it's not just business. And sure, Kate's fabulous. If you want to talk cash flow, go over to the website and have a look at one of Kate's amazing tools that I've seen, and I know people that work through and use it as it's like a Bible. The spreadsheet and the cash flow and you can do all of that if you want those types of tools, absolutely. But there's so much more to it. And that's what I really wanted to shine a light on today, to share with listeners that there's so much more to it. And here's a woman who has her own unique journey, and this is why. People, this is the context. And a lot of what Kate shares and the work she does with business owners, it is around, let's start with lifestyle because it has such a flow-on effect. And that's when we get to this part. I want to talk about this, the slowing down before you speed up and the concept of flourishing. So there's so much talk about hustle culture. There's so much talk about the grind. Step back and pause. It doesn't need to be. For me, it was step back and learn how to nurture, slow down, and flourish from there. And flourish is something you're passionate about, and it's a word that resonates so deeply with you. And then I want to talk about the work you do in your Flourish package with women, because I've seen, again, from clients that I work with, just how valuable that is. But talk about flourish. Why does that resonate with you? What does that mean to you?
I don't know. It's just a word that I think I want to see women just evolve and grow. And I'm, again, growing up with that farming and I love gardening and I have a lot of flowers in my garden and I love that. And I see, interesting, going back to the spirituality for a moment, there's a card that I love in a deck of tarot cards that I pull often from Rebecca Campbell, and I often get the ever unfolding rose, and that will come into my business somewhere as well. Like that it just feels like who we are as women. We're continuously growing and shedding and meeting new versions of ourselves. Or I heard an analogy the other day of thinking about repotting ourselves, like going to like a bigger pot because we've grown and we're evolving. And I think I just love supporting women so holistically to just be who they can be. And this is part of my human design as a generator 5-1 and you know, all the other components that make it up. I am here to teach and to lead women. And one of my things inside my human design is that I can see people's greatest potential and I really want them to live up to that. And it's really hard for me when they don't. Like I just deeply want people to be open to change and be open to new things, even if it might feel a little scary or a little different or something they're not sure of, but to be open because gosh, what's on the other side is just pretty cool.
I love that. And I love the focus on Flourish, and that underpins so much of what you do. Can you just step through for a little bit of context what that Flourish package looks like? You love it so much. One of your packages that's available for women to work with you is the Flourish package, and I know it all too well. But can you just step through and just give a bit of a framework of what that looks like? Because I feel that that's going to be really important for listeners to know.
Yeah. Thanks, Tracy. And look, it's different for every woman because everyone's on a little bit of a different journey. So what we've first got to do is define where you're at in your life. What's happening in the season of your life? Are you trying to get pregnant? Do you have a new baby? Are you moving state? Is your husband away all the time? Like what is actually happening in your world? And what does success look like to you? What do you want this to look and to feel like? And really support, build up the woman, go through a lot of things really holistically. And then we kind of hold a vision as like, right, this is where we want to land at June 30 next year. And if it's a couple of months later, whatever. But you know what I mean? We've got this real vision of I want to either grow the team to this, or what I'm seeing a lot now is to reduce the team, to really understand my clients, my brand, rework my offerings and have less clients for more money. Like just strategically change the whole business model. And I've seen this so many times. And, you know, a couple that come to mind straight away is a few designers. One was just burnt out, wasn't sure she wanted to do it anymore, was exhausted. And she had all these other things she wanted to do. Now she is working with less clients. They're paying her more. They're more aligned. She's creating her dream home. She's done this Airbnb course. She's now got a beautiful Airbnb. She's at home more. She's cooking more. Her daughters have less anxiety. She's picking them up from school. She has space for the first time in her life. And she's more at peace because she kept seeing on other, you know, coaches and people online, it was like, I've got to keep growing and I've got to have this many figure months and whatever. But it just wasn't working for her. And so there's a lot of women that we might actually reduce the business size. And there's a lot of thoughts of, you know, failing. And it's like, well, why would I do that, Kate? I've worked hard. And then when they get to the other side, it's like, oh, I would have thrown this business in the bin had we not have done this. Like the amount of times I've heard this, if we hadn't worked together, I probably would have closed the business by now because it just wasn't working for them anymore.
Oh, I'm loving what you say here about meeting the woman where they're at, working out what they want, and then working with them to support them to achieve that. And there's no two businesses that are the same. There's no two women that are the same. Everybody's different. And I love that you've got that flexible framework that you're able to do that to support different women achieve different things. And what I'm really hearing, and I'm sure this is resonating with listeners, is the supportive nature. There's no judgment here. I don't think I've ever spoken to one of your clients who have had anything other than the most glowing, beautiful things to say about their time with you. Speaking from myself, just those few days was transformational. I really am so grateful to have had the opportunity to have you on the podcast and to share that possibility with listeners, because it is possible. And if you're in the grind and you're on the hamster wheel and you're doing the things and, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired all the time, it doesn't have to be that way. And here's a woman ready to work with you to help you and show you that it doesn't have to be that way. Kate, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. This has been so valuable and I appreciate your time so much. Tell us, if people want to find you, where can we find you?
Yeah, so my website is kateaddamo.com. So that's ADDAMO. Instagram at Life and Business in Flow, and the podcast as well. I have a podcast, Life and Business in Flow.
We'll put all those details in the show notes as well. Kate, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Great to chat with you today.
There we have it. Kate Addamo. I really hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I clearly enjoyed recording that with Kate. There's so many nuggets of gold that I just know will resonate with so many of my beautiful listeners, and we'll put Kate's contact details in the show notes. But it's definitely worth checking her out over on Instagram and follow along if you don't already. She's so soul-led and such a pure, good-hearted person that she's just somebody that I've thoroughly enjoyed sharing on the podcast, and I hope that you have enjoyed connecting with Kate and listening along. As always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.